Okay, today it's good day, children. Today it's going to be a fantastic topic about animals, and in the animals we are going to see about their nutrition. Let's see what does the introduction of this lesson have in store for us. In chapter 1 you have learned about the different modes of nutrition and the process by which the plants get their food. Do you know how animals get their nutrition? We don't know, isn't it? Animals get their food from plants either directly, that is by eating plants, or indirectly, that is by eating animals that feed on plants. Some animals eat both plants and animals. Similarly, many of us eat either animal food like egg, fish, chicken, etc., or plant food like vegetables, fruits, etc., or both. But whatever we eat or the animals eat is either an animal or a plant product. We get milk from cows and goats and eggs from hens and ducks. Jam and jelly, wow, are made from fruits. Bread is made from wheat flour that is extracted from the wheat plant, and vegetables are also obtained from plants. But what happens to the food you eat? How does it give you energy for your daily activities? So we are going to explore in this chapter the answers to these wonderful questions. Are you ready? I am ready. Let's start our journey on them, children. Different modes of animal nutrition. You have studied in the previous chapter that most animals and humans derive their nutrition from the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. There are four types of heterotrophic nutrition: holozoic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, saprophytic nutrition, and symbiotic nutrition. Now let's begin with the holozoic nutrition. This type of nutrition is seen in humans and other commonly found animals. In this type of nutrition, the organisms take their food, whether solid or liquid, as a whole. This nutrition is used to release energy by a series of chemical reactions inside their body. Holozoic animals can be herbivorous, that is plant-eating, carnivorous, animal-eating, or omnivorous, eating both animals and plants. Here the bear is omnivore. Parasitic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, animals derive nutrients from other animals or plants called host. This kind of relationship between the parasite and the host, where the parasite benefits but the host is harmed, is called parasitism. Mosquito is an example of human parasite that feeds in human blood. Louse is another human parasite. Now, after the parasitic nutrition, let's go to the saprophytic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, organisms derive nutrition from dead organic material. Example, we have the millipedia. It's scary and creepy. Then there's the wood lice and dung flies. Yuck. Accomplish their nutrient requirements by this method. Such organisms are also called detritivorous. What are they called? Detritivorous. Symbiotic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, two animals live close to each other and interact in such a manner that either both are benefited or one of them is benefited, but none of them is harmed from this association. A very good example of symbiotic relationship, that's mutualism, is the association between remora and shark. The remora, this is the remora fish, is a marine fish that is usually found in the warmer part of the oceans. They cling onto the body surface of the sharks and get their nutrients. Now this is great news, children, from the places where the sharks move around. Okay, now let's go to the holozoic nutrition in animals. Holozoic nutrition involves the following 5 steps. Which are those 5 steps? That's ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation. Okay, which are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally egestion. Now, ingestion, we begin with taking in a big or small particles of food is termed ingestion. There may be specialized organs for ingestion such as mouth. Digestion, breaking down food into simpler forms is called digestion. Absorption, taking up the soluble forms of food into the tissues is called absorption. Assimilation, utilization of nutrients for various body functions is called assimilation. Egestion, removal of undigested or waste matter from the body is called egestion. Let us discuss the nutrition in the simplest living creature on the earth, that's the amoeba. Nutrition in amoeba. Amoeba is a microscopic single-celled organism found in places such as pond water. It does not have a specialized organ like mouth for taking in food or a digestive system for the process of nutrition. The outer body surface of amoeba extends into temporary protrusions called pseudopodia that help them to collect food particles. Okay, let's go further. This is the amoeba, okay, under the microscope, and this is the detailed structure of the amoeba. Amoeba feeds on bacteria, microscopic plants like diatoms, minute algae, and microscopic animals like other protozoa, nematodes, and even dead organic matter. Nutrition in amoeba is holozoic. Okay, now this is the detailed structure of the amoeba. All have to draw this amoeba. Then you have to name this pseudopodium, ectoplasm, endoplasm, cell membrane, contractile vacuole, food vacuole, nucleus, and digestive vacuole. Mechanisms of nutrition in amoeba. When an amoeba comes in contact with the food particle, it surrounds the food using pseudopodia. Singular form of pseudopodia is pseudopodium. The pseudopodia engulfs the food and forms a food vacuole. Amoeba then secretes digestive juices, that's the enzymes, into the food vacuole to break down this complex food into simpler form. This process is called digestion. Finally, the digested food is absorbed into cytoplasm. Okay. The undigested food material is removed from the body through a temporary vacuole. This mode of nutrition in amoeba is also called phagocytosis. What's phagocytosis? What is it all about? It's the food particles. Okay. Then the plasma membrane. There's the entrampment of food particles. There are the lysosomes. This is the nucleus. This is the cytoplasm. Okay, then there's the food vacuole, formation of the food vacuole within the cell, then the fusion of the lysosomes with the food vacuole, and then the digestion of the food particle. Got it, children? This is the phagocytosis. This is about phagocytosis, the mode. Okay. Then this is the activity which you have to do it on your own. That's the name of the animal and type of the food eaten, Now let's see this interesting about do you know? Let us know the following terms. Frugivores, animals that feed on fruits are called frugivores. For example, monkeys and some birds. This is lovely term, isn't it? Then sanguinivores, animals that feed on the blood of vertebrate animals are called sanguinivores. For example, female mosquito, that's the Anopheles, which causes malaria, children. Leeches and vampire bats. Now these are quite scary, I guess. Then we have the detrivorous. Okay, detrivores, that's the animals that feed on decaying organic matter are called detritivores. For example, the earthworm, what are they called? The example for it is earthworm. So what are these animals called? Detritivores. Alright. The checkpoint, you'll have to do it on your own. Now we have Louis Pasteur. Okay, from 1822 to 1895, he was a very world-renowned biologist from France and a chemist. He is regarded as one of three main founders of microbiology together with Ferdinand Kohn and Robert Koch. He is best known for his remarkable discovery in the causes and the preventions of the disease and for developing the first vaccine for rabies. Pasteur first proved that the most infectious diseases are caused by microorganisms. This became known as the germ theory of disease. Pasteur invented a method to stop milk from getting spoiled. This process later came to be known as pasteurization. Pasteur worked throughout his life on the various causes of diseases and how these could be prevented by vaccination. So you can see he was such a great person. Children, I want you to do research on Louis Pasteur. Okay, go through his biography too. Now we further move on to nutrition in human beings. The food that we eat is converted into simpler form inside the body. The process of converting complex food substances into simpler absorbable form is called digestion. The parts of the body that the food travels through from ingestion to digestion is called alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is a long, muscular and a coiled tube and consists of the following parts. Let's see the parts. Mouth and oral cavity or the buccal cavity. Mouth cavity is the anterior opening of the digestive system which ingests food. It has a muscular tongue on which the taste buds are arranged. Pharynx. Pharynx is the portion of the alimentary canal after the mouth. It is a funnel-shaped passage common to air and food. Esophagus, that is a gullet or food pipe. Pharynx along with the alimentary canal, okay, as in the figure we will see, leads to a narrow tubular muscular organ called the esophagus. No digestion takes place in the esophagus. What happens? No digestion takes place in the esophagus. And this is the human alimentary canal. Alright, this is the human alimentary canal. This has the pharynx, the oral cavity. This is the tongue here. Here we have the esophagus. This is the diaphragm. This is the liver. Here we have the gallbladder. Here we have the stomach. Then we have the pancreas. Here we have the duodenum. This is the transverse colon. This is the ascending colon. This is the jejunum. Then we have the ileum. Here we have the anus and not forgetting the small intestine, the descending colon and the rectum. Got it, children? So this entire makes it into the human alimentary canal. Now let's focus on the stomach. Esophagus opens into the stomach. Stomach lies on the left side of the abdomen. Where does the stomach lie? To the left side of the abdomen. It is a sac-like organ connected to the esophagus and intestine. Stomach secretes an acid called hydrochloric acid that kills all the harmful germs present in the food. Digestion of food, especially proteins, continues in the stomach. Then we have the small intestine. Small intestine is the longest portion of the alimentary canal, which is narrower than the stomach. It has three main parts, that's the duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The walls of the small intestine consists of a number of folds through which the absorption takes place. These folds increase the surface area and thus allow for maximum absorption of digested food by the intestinal walls. Okay, here we have the folds of the small intestine, children. Okay, this is the fold, this is the villi and this is the villus. Okay. Large intestine. The small intestine enlarges slightly to form a tubular large intestine. Water and useful minerals are absorbed through the walls of the large intestine. Then we have the rectum. It is a bag-like structure which ends at the opening called the anus. The rectum stores the undigested food as fecal matter till it is discarded through the anus. We will proceed further During the process of digestion, organs such as salivary glands, liver and pancreas produce different digestive juices. These juices perform different functions in the process of digestion. The digestive juices convert complex substances into simpler ones. Following are the functions of the digestive glands. The salivary glands produce enzymes to break down starch into smaller molecules. Saliva also helps to kill the harmful bacteria in food. The liver produces bile to break down the fat into smaller molecules. The pancreas secretes the digestive enzymes to break down carbohydrates and proteins into their simpler forms. The alimentary canal along with these organs form the digestive system. The digestive process is as follows. Okay, ingestion, the food is taken in big or small particles through the mouth. Here saliva breaks down the food while it is being chewed by our teeth. The food then goes down through the esophagus into the stomach. Then we have digestion. Digestion involves the breaking down of food into smaller particles. During this process, complex food molecules are broken down into simpler molecules so that they can be absorbed by the body. The major part of digestion takes place in the stomach and in the small intestine. In these two organs, the food particles are acted upon by organic molecules called enzymes. Absorption. The soluble digested food is absorbed into the tissues during this process. This process takes place inside the small intestine, from where the soluble food enters the bloodstream and is carried into the tissues. Small intestine has finger-like projections called villi. Singular form of villi is villus that help in absorption. Absorption of water takes place in the large intestine. Assimilation. In this process, the food which is in the simplest form and has been absorbed is oxidized to release energy. This energy is required to carry out various functions of our body. Then we have digestion. Removal of undigested food or waste matter from the body is called digestion. Waste matter from the alimentary canal is discarded to the anus. Summary of the digestive process. Digestion is taking in of food through the mouth is called ingestion. What is it called? Ingestion. Then we have digestion. The breakdown of the ingested food in mouth cavity, stomach and small intestine is called digestion. Then we have absorption. Digested food is absorbed through the membranes of the small intestine and large intestine. Then we have assimilation. Here the absorption of food material inside the tissues is called assimilation. Then we have digestion. Removal of undigested food through the anus is called digestion. Interesting, isn't it, children? I really liked and I'm able to understand, and I know that you are also able to understand. Okay, now let's proceed further. What happens to the digested food? We need to know that. Our body requires energy to carry out various life-sustaining activities. From the previous discussion, we have learned that the digested food is absorbed through the walls of the small intestine and is passed on to the blood. Through the blood, the absorbed food reaches all the parts of the body, including our tissues. These food materials are oxidized inside the tissues to release energy. Thus, we get energy from the food that we eat. Then we have the checkpointers, of course, we'll solve it later. Together. Okay. So now we move on to the nutrition in ruminants. Have you seen a cow or a buffalo chewing continuously even when they are not eating? I have seen. Or you surf the net, you will find that. These animals eat fodder and store it in the part of the stomach called rumen. Here the food is partially digested and stored as cud. These animals also have the ability to bring this cud back into their mouth to continue chewing. This process is called rumination, and the animals who chew cud are called ruminants. The stomach of a ruminant has 4 chambers, that is the rumen, reticulum, omasum and abomasum. Such a 4-chambered stomach is called a compound stomach. The food swallowed by the ruminant enters the first biggest chamber, that is rumen. Here the grinding of the food takes place. Okay, then it is moved into the reticulum, from where it is returned to the mouth to be broken into smaller pieces and converted into soft pulp called cud. It is now chewed thoroughly. You now know that the process of chewing cud is called rumination. So what is rumination? The process of chewing cud is called rumination. During rumination, the cud mixes with the saliva and becomes a semi-liquid paste. Then it is pulled directly into the third chamber of the omasum and then into the last chamber called abomasum. In this fourth chamber, the digestive juices mix with the semi-liquid cud. These juices break down the food into simpler form. The semi-digested food now enters the small intestine. From here, the remaining process of digestion continues. Why do you think the ruminants develop the habit of chewing cud? We know that the animals like cow, buffalo, sheep and deer are herbivorous. Their food is rich in cellulose. Cellulose is a complex sugar and difficult to digest. Hence, they chew the cud to break the cellulose in a simpler form. The three chambers in the stomach of the ruminants help in the complete digestion of cellulose. This is the ruminant stomach. Okay, you will see here. This is the ruminant stomach, and this what is it? That's the abomasum, reticulum, omasum, esophagus, the rumen, the small intestine and the large intestine. Here, see, this is more in detail: reticulum, abomasum, rumen, esophagus, omasum and small intestine tube. Okay, so this is the ruminant stomach of cows and buffaloes. Now we have the different types of teeth. All of us have two sets of teeth in our lifetime. The first one starts to appear about 6 months of age. These are called milk teeth or temporary teeth. When the milk teeth fall out, the permanent teeth take their place. An adult human being has 32 teeth in all. Each jaw has 16 teeth. Do all your teeth look alike? Nah, they do not. There are 4 types of teeth in our mouth. They are the incisors, canine, premolars and the molars. Okay. Now these over here are the molars and these are the premolars. These are the canines and these are the incisors that we have. Okay. Once again, the molars, the premolars, the canine and the incisors. These are the different types of teeth that we have. Let's move further. We have the incisors. There are 2 pairs of incisors in each jaw. They have chisel-like ends and are meant for cutting and biting. Then we have the canines. There is a pair of canines in each jaw. They have pointed ends and are meant for tearing the food. Canines are well developed in carnivores. Okay, then we have the premolars. There are 2 pairs of premolars in each jaw. They are bigger than the incisors and canines and are flattened on the top. There are 4 premolars, each at the upper and the lower jaws. 2 on the either sides. The surface of the premolar has small humps which facilitate grinding and mastification of food. These are the teeth of a tiger. Okay, these are the incisors. This is the canine. These are the premolars and this is the molar. And here the lower teeth, they are the molars, the premolars, the canines and the incisors. Now let's move on to the molars. There are 3 pairs of molars in each jaw. We have 12 molars. They are used to chew food. Molars are also flattened on the top. You know, carnivore is an animal that eats flesh. They have highly developed canines to tear off the flesh easily. Their sharp incisors help to grab the prey, and the powerful molars and premolars slice through flesh and bones. On the other hand, herbivores have different type of teeth as they are used to plant-based diet only. They have incisors only in the lower jaw. While feeding, a herbivorous animal grinds the plants by moving the jaw in circular motion. In which motion? In the circular motion. Most rodents are herbivorous. Their molars are broad and flat with ridges for grinding. They have long chisel-like incisors for gnawing grass and twigs. You might have seen the long, beautiful tusks of an elephant. They are actually the elephant's incisor teeth. The dentition seen in the human is adapted to an omnivorous diet. Now children, these are the teeth of a cow, these are the incisors, these are the canines, these are the premolars, and these are the molars. This is the lower jaw and this is the upper jaw. I want you to draw all these figures, children, and these are the tusks of an elephant. Okay, what are they actually? The incisor teeth of an elephant. Now we move further to the dentition of a cow. Okay, these are the 8 lower incisors, these are the 12 premolars, and these are the 12 molars. Now dentition of a carnivore and herbivore. These are the molars, here are the premolars, here are the canines, incisors, the carnivore and the herbivore. Here this is about the carnivore and this is about the herbivore, children. Okay, very good. And these are the teeth of a human. Alright, 4 central scissors, 4 lateral incisors, 4 canines, 4 first premolars, then the 4 second premolars, the 4 first molars, the 4 second molars, and the 4 third molars. They are the 32 permanent teeth. Okay, now let's see what the Do You Know has in store for us. The total number of teeth present in the organism is termed as dentition. Dentition can also be represented by the dental formula, which gives the number of teeth in one half of a jaw. That is incisors. I is for incisors, C is for canines, PM is for premolars, M is for molars. The dental formula of an adult human being is 2:1:2:3. Okay, so that was about the teeth of the human that we have learned, and this was an interesting fact too. Thus, we have developed all the 4 types of teeth. They fit together to give a neat bite at the front side of the mouth and an efficient chewing system at the back. We get the taste of food using our tongue. It contains numerous taste buds to sense whether a type of food is sweet, sour, bitter or hot. Let us perform activity 3 to show that we can taste different types of food with the help of our tongue. Now this is activity 3. Prepare 4 different solutions of sucrose, that is sweet, sodium chloride, salty, citric acid, sour, and quinine, which is bitter. Ask your friend to put out his tongue. Now place a drop of each of the solutions on the tongue using a dropper. Ask him or her to tell you the taste of the solution. Now apply the solutions one by one to all the parts of the tongue. You should watch the dropper before each application. Record the taste of the solutions applied every time. Now this is a nice one to try, children. Please do it. Okay. Now let's see what is the Do You Know has for us. The color of our teeth is white, but sometimes they look yellow. Do you know why? When we eat something, a small amount of food is left in between the teeth. Saliva and bacteria present in the mouth mix with this food and form a sticky film on our teeth. This sticky film is called dental plaque. The enzymes produced by the bacteria act on these small food particles and produce sugar and acids. These acids dissolve the white covering of the teeth, causing tooth decay. It's so scary. If this process continues, a hole or a cavity is formed in the teeth. Plaque mostly affects the gums too, causing swelling and bleeding. Now this is the activity for number in your, we are going to, the type of teeth, number in each jaw and the function. Now this will be discussed and written. Okay, now further let's see to the points to remember. All animals directly or indirectly depend upon plants for nutrition. Amoeba is a unicellular organism that ingests food by pseudopodia. Holozoic nutrition involves the 5 processes: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. Human beings have a well-developed digestive system. The digestion begins in the mouth and ends in the small intestine. The alimentary canal consists of mouth cavity, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus, and the digestive glands. Okay, during the digestion, food is broken down into simpler forms by enzymes and digestive juices. The unabsorbed and undigested food is stored in the rectum and expelled out through the anus. The food moves down the alimentary canal by the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of muscles. Human beings have 4 types of teeth for mastication. Ruminants are plant-eating animals that bring back the food to their mouth and chew and grind it. The stomach of a ruminant has 4 chambers. Now let's see to the important definitions. That's the Holozoic nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which the organism takes chunk of food or the whole food. What's an omnivore? An animal which eats both plant and animal products. What is ingestion? Taking in a big or small particles of food. What is digestion? The process of converting complex food substances into simpler ones. What is absorption? Taking up the soluble forms of food into the tissues. What is assimilation? Utilization of the nutrients for various body functions. What is egestion? Removal of undigested or waste matter from body. What is pseudopodium? Projection of the body surface in amoeba that helps in ingestion of food. What is mastication? The process of crushing the ingested food and mixing it with the digestive juices. What is ruminant? An animal with 4-chambered stomach that brings back swallowed food into the mouth to chew on it again. What is rumination? The process of chewing cud. Children, I hope you had a lovely time on nutrition in animals. See you soon for the next lesson. Okay? Thank you.